bottom line is, we're not just talking about elder millennials. It's just these stars get hurt, as you mentioned with Tatum, Halliburton. It's insane what's happening right now, and you need to take measures to mitigate it. The Thunder have such a roster where many hands make the work light, and if the Warriors did by some miracle, they can't really anymore, I don't think, not with Miles Turner going to the Bucks, but if they had somehow procured a Giannis to combine with a Jimmy and a Steph with the lack of depth, they would have to be quite assertive in giving these guys bye weeks effectively at this point, I think. And you just couldn't play a traditional NBA season.
And to your point, I actually don't think that would work. That's kind of why the Warriors, like, I swear, every time we get to transaction season, whether it's like the trade deadline or off season, our guy Windy letting us know the Warriors are monitoring Giannis. Giannis, it's not just him, it's Shams, it's whoever is trusted and tried and true. And I'm just sitting here going like, enough. You're just waiting. You've been waiting on Giannis.
Well, so wait, what do you want?
Pre-pandemic.
So what do you want? And Mays has pointed out millennial cutoff is 1981 to 1996. So Porzingis is a millennial. Congratulations, Porzingis. But what do you want? You don't want Giannis, but you don't want Kuminga still on the team. Are you just rending garments on how maybe Cam Johnson was a little more available than we knew? And perhaps that would have gotten me excited.
I would have loved Cam Johnson. Like, my entire thing with the Warriors offseason is I like the way Steph and Jimmy play together. Get me playable depth. Get me a Cam Johnson. Get me a Herb Jones. Get me an Alex Caruso. Get me get me some of these guys who are not superstars, but are also not Jonathan Kuminga, like, just, I mean, once upon a time they went and got Andrew Bogut and Andre Iguodala. You know what I'm saying? Like, those guys were neither superstars, but they're also not like 19 or 20-year-old projects. They were just damn good starting caliber players, right? And I know in Andre's case, at one point he was an all-star.
The league was dumber back then. 1 second. I've got an issue with my headphones, so I'm going to hopefully turn this off and not ruin things. But the league was dumber back then. Maybe that's the problem. Everyone else became light years, man.
Which is the complete irony of their statement. But that is kind of my overarching feeling on the matter, which is, I feel like when you have Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, you have a puncher's chance. Now, to your point, they're older, so a
literal puncher's chance in the case of one of those.
Yeah, but you're probably going to need 5 or 6 playable dudes around them, guys who are not over 35 or under 25. That's all I'm looking for, man. I don't think I have unrealistic expectations. Like, this team could have moved Kuminga for a player like Cam Johnson. Definitely 6 months ago or a year ago. And that's where I lose my mind with them. They're like, oh, we're not moving him for anything less than a star. I'm like, what makes you think you're going to get a star for him? And if he was good enough to get a star, he would probably be an ascending star, in which case you wouldn't want to move him anyway. Like, if he was Jalen Williams, we wouldn't be looking at the trade market being like, we need to replace him. Why? Because he'd be what they were hoping he would be, which is a very, very good player who can play in the playoffs for your team. I guess that's my whole thing. It's like, they got Kevin Durant almost a decade ago, and now it feels like they just are expecting Giannis to fall into their lap on their terms instead of just kind of betting on what they have and going out and building a more strength in number style roster. That's what I want. That's what I want. We've done the big fish thing. I did find it a little more enjoyable to watch them win Steve Kerr's way around Steph Curry. And quite frankly, I don't know how many more years he has in him. I'd rather see them try to do that than wait for something to fall into their laps the way they want to with the Greek guy.
Well, because they don't have enough right now. I think that's
the other part of it. Even if you asked out, how confident are you? It's like, great, I get it. Him and Steph have a lot of reverence for each other. it's what's that other meme? Isn't there someone you forgot to ask here? Like the Bucks in this equation? Like, do they want Kuminga and like 3 picks in the 20s? Probably not.
Oh, God, if only teams were dumber. I mean, Kuminga does have this heat, and the Warriors have valued him to such an extent that it almost makes other people think he has value. It's like you're watching Wolf
of into existence, right?
You're watching Wolf of Wall Street, and you're just watching somebody sell one of these stocks. At the same time, we're a little bit anti him relative to others. I feel that way, but part of me goes, is there a 20% chance that he flourishes and becomes a star and we look like idiots? The longer I live, the more I've been wrong on things like this. And so what is the chance? What's the chance?
But it's not happening in Golden State. That's the other part of this. I'm willing to concede to you. Like I think it's more likely like 70-30 no.
Yeah.
He will not be a star. He'll be like a Rudy Gay, where the numbers are there, but if you watch him, you're like, yeah, he's kind of an empty calories, like 20-point scorer, right? And that's the more likely outcome. But there's a world where different coach, different message, a little maturity, he becomes that two-way wing they hoped he would be, right? There's always that possibility. It's not going to happen on the Warriors. It's not. You're not, and like, unless you think Steve is the problem, but you're not willing to get rid of him. So what are we doing here? It's just a lot of like, what if we point. Like, it's like, if you believe he's that guy and you believe the head coach is poisoning it with the DNPs and the tough love and the double standards, I can buy that, but you're not acting on that either. You're just kind of kicking the can down the road, hoping something will magically come together.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's okay. He could become that guy. We could look stupid later on, but he's not going to be that guy alongside Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work.
Correct.
It just doesn't. So you're almost holding the bag because you don't want to be embarrassed that you trade him to a place with spacing and then he breaks out and you look foolish. But ultimately you have to stop worrying about that and you have to not be a bag holder because this just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. It hasn't fit. And you should thank God. You should thank your lucky stars that he flashed in the playoffs because he looked like one of the worst rotation players I had ever seen in his first few playoff games when everybody was watching. And for him to have flashed in that Wolves series and gotten people excited about him again is an opportunity. It's an opportunity and it might not come along again. So I'm with you on this. You gotta part ways if you're trying to optimize what you have right now.
Yeah, and I mean that's the overall like. It might sound like whining or lamenting or whatever term you want to go. Like it's just been the same shit for like 4 years in a row. You know what I mean?
Well,
like I know
they swung the Butler trade. I will. Now I have to defend them. I mean, where's your gratitude? They're back to being cucks a few months later, not 2 months later, not 3 months later. I mean, you got to give them a little bit of credit here, right?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't have to give them any credit.
Never mind.
They got Jimmy because they were the only team that was willing to give him the max contract. I guess Phoenix was, but they got screwed with the Bradley Beal thing. So, it's that situation. Like, I guess that's a point for their logic, which is like, if we just wait, something's going to fall into our lap.